All right, it's time for my halfway through the year statistics for all of those who like graphs. It's basically what this is. This is all going to be just as much of a surprise to me as it is to you guys. So let's go through it. Let's start off with the basics. How many books have I read in the first half of the year? And that would be 66, which I'm very happy with. That is way more than I expected. Like, well, boy, I'm on track to get to 120 this year. That's baffling to me. I would be happy with 100. As I said in my goals video earlier this week, I'm not very stressed about the quantity of books so much as the quality. So we'll see. And I say that, but there's always so many books that we want to read, right? So many. So 66 books, and how many physical pages read? It's about 22,780 pages, so round up 23,000 pages approximately, assuming some things are off one way or the other. It's so hard to pick the page length for things, right? So that's pretty cool. Like I said, I don't include my audiobook page length because that's just a different allotment of hobby time. I actually don't use any hobby time. I'm listening to them at work or walking to my commute, doing chores. So that's on track because I definitely want to be reading about 100 pages a day minimum, and that's for sure what it's averaged out to be. I'm pretty sure. Something on the screen will tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing okay. And so let's discuss the books I've read per month. And this kind of looks like it's all over the place, right? Like it looks like I started slow, went up, balanced out, then went super high again. But then if you look at the pages read per month, the physically read pages read, I'm pretty steady. I am very steady in the number of pages I read per month, so that probably means that the months where I read a lot, there's a lot more varying in shorter books, a lot more audiobooks, although I don't think I've read too many audiobooks. We will find out in one of these charts. So it's interesting to me that the books read per month is all over the place, and the pages read per month is relatively consistent. Like, I have been hitting about 4,000 pages a month since March. Like, that's about how much time I spend. Like, almost like clockwork. It's quite astounding to me. I don't know if I will make that this month. This month's been a little bit slow. And speaking of audiobooks, how many of what I read are audiobooks? And that is 15%. If you look at this pie chart, I read about 44% Kindle, 41% physical, and 15% audio. And I think next year I might try to find a way to say multiple, because nowadays I'm finding myself sometimes I will listen and physically read, not too often, but more often than not, I might have the physical and the ebook, and I'll switch between the two depending on if I'm in bed or on my commute or just sitting on the couch. It depends, and I don't really know how to keep track of that, so that's a future me problem, but as of right now, this is how it breaks down. So between like physical and Kindle, I'm about split evenly, and audiobooks, I've read 10 of them, which isn't too bad. So 10 books have been that, and of the books I'm reading, I have this pie chart I like to put together that breaks it into what are part of series, what are standalones, what are short stories. So we have 26 standalones, which is 39%, which I really like. I think that's a good portion. 4 of them have been short story collections, so 6%, and then the rest is parts of series, but I break that down into first, middle, end, and caught up, because sometimes I catch up in a series, but it's not the end. And so I have started 18%, but I have been catching up in the middle of 21%, which I think is really good. I like that I'm still getting to start a lot of new things, but I'm still continuing a lot of things. I have finished 5 series, and I've caught up on 5 series. So I'm happy with the breakdown. I don't have any goals for this. It's just nice to keep myself accountable. I feel like I would maybe make a goal if suddenly this was like, I don't know, 30% of what I'm reading or 35 is the first book in series. That might be a bit much for me. I might need to like reevaluate that. And now we can look at years published, which I feel like, to no surprise of anyone, 60% of what I read is very modern. Like, I think from 2016 to today, 20% of what I've read this year was published in 2021, and another 20% was in 2020. I read a lot of modern works. I mean, that's what I love to do. I love buying new books and reading them. So this isn't shocking to me, but the other 40% are backlist, so I don't think that's too bad. It's just, I don't know, I love how diverse modern books are. I like seeing the new things on the shelf and being interested in starting new series that aren't finished yet. Like, I know some people need a series to be finished before they start it because they've been burned by some famous authors, the few authors in the universe who can afford to not finish their series. But, like, most of the time they get finished and it's really exciting and you're just like, ooh, I can't wait to see what happens next. And I love being there. That's so fun to me. It has been one of the biggest joys of my life to start the Cosmere in 2005 and know it won't end for like 30 to 40 years. It's been a wonderful joy to me. And so now let's talk about pacing of books. So this is something that like I put together. So Storygraph has a version of this, but I don't always agree with people's definition. So this is all my definition. And I guess assume that when I say something's medium, it's medium slow, because I think in general, a lot of people think what I think's medium is slow, but what I think is slow is like super slow. But about a quarter of what I read is slow or fast paced, and half of what I read is medium paced. And I'll put it on the screen. Per usual, medium-paced books are my highest rated book on average. I started doing this calculation, but yeah, I think it goes medium, fast, slow. The screen will correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really interesting how consistently medium-paced books are my favorite. And I think that makes sense because I like to spend time in a book. That's the whole reason I'm reading a book and not consuming a quicker form of media. Like I could do that, right? Like we have movies, I could do that. And I don't know, if something's too fast, sometimes I don't get as much pleasure from it. Like, there are exceptions, and if something is slow, it has more of a chance to really bore me. Like, a slow book can be a favorite of all time, for sure, but it's more likely, if it doesn't hit all the notes perfectly, bore me, and that's not a kiss of death, but it's not what I want from my reading experience. Now we shall look at how many things that I have borrowed, owned, or read as ARCs. 50% of what I read is borrowed from the library, which is lower than what it was last year, but I also have 11% that are ARCs, so if you add those two together, I'm really still reading 67% of things that I don't own, that I'm getting for free, and 33% are things that I own, and sometimes I buy the books after I've read them as an ARC. So that's a thing, but I'm okay with it. Actually, a lot of these things I've purchased have been gifts, or I use a gift card, so I'm not too concerned financially about it. I'm concerned about shelf space, for sure. But you know, I'm just accepting that I want to live in a library, so start the collection now, right? That's what I gotta do. Now let's talk about page length for books. So I think I've only read what I would consider novellas, like 9 books. I know there's like a word count cutoff, but I don't know word count. So 200 pages or less, I've read 9 books. And then the rest kind of go like this, although keep in mind, this doesn't include the audiobooks, so there's definitely like, I've read a couple Wheel of Time books and audiobooks. Those are big books on the side, but physically reading, this is about how it breaks down, which my average book numbers being between 300 and 500, which I feel like is the average book length. So I never feel like these stats are very interesting, but it is, I guess, interesting to me that I've read 66 books. 10 of them were audiobooks, so 56, and then 9 of them were maybe novellas. And so I'm still reading a lot of like what I would consider physical reading time novels, more so than I used to in the past. So that is interesting to me. And now we can look at my star ratings. So I do half stars and whole stars. It doesn't really matter, but like sometimes I like to have the whole stars because like for Goodreads I have to commit to something. But for my own personal records, I love half stars. So I'll put them side by side for you guys. My average rating is still 4 stars because that's just who I am. Haven't had too many things that I would put like as a 2 or 2.5. Actually, on my half star scales, I have no 2s, but when I have to do whole stars, I have a few 2s. So it's going well. I'm enjoying my reading this year. I'm loving having half stars. Thank you, Storygraph. And now we can talk about the authors. So if you guys don't know, I love keeping track of my author stats, mainly because it keeps me accountable. I just always want to be pulling from a lot of different directions, and unless I track it initially, I don't get myself into the habit. And then once I'm in the habit, it's great, and I don't have to be like as focused on it. So in past years, I have been atrocious at realizing that marketing pushes basically one demographic on you, at least in adult SFF, which has gotten better. It's always getting better, but the popular books are written by mainly white people, which it's not their fault. They wrote great books. There's no issue with the books, but marketing pushes it so that you forget that there are other authors out there who have different life experiences and different stories and cultures to talk from, and it's great. So for gender, though, I'm reading 33% male, 55% female, 6% non-binary, and 6% had multiple authors, and within those had also non-binary male and female authors. Those are normally my short story collections or The Mask of Mirrors, which has 2 authors, 1 female and 1 non-binary. And I can only base the non-binary on if they are public about it, so if they say in their bio or if I notice that they use multiple pronouns, which even then I might not be 100% correct, because just because you use certain pronouns doesn't necessarily mean you're a non-binary. But I do my best, you know. I'm hopefully not misgendering people when I make this pie chart. And the non-binary author is something I have been wanting to increase, and I am slowly doing it. That is just because publishing has been publishing more non-binary authors, which makes it easier for me to read from them. So that's exciting. And then when I look at my author of color breakdown, I'm reading 56% from authors of color and 44% from white authors. So that is a big improvement from years past, and it's something I'm not even actively thinking about anymore. I just am grabbing books, and I don't know, I guess the people I'm following, it's the books that publishing is starting to put out there. It's a combination of things. So really, really happy with all of that. So I think that's all the stats that I want to talk about. If you have any stats that you are ever curious about, let me know, and I can track them maybe next year. Probably not this year. The spreadsheet is pretty large. But that's it for this one. You can leave a graph as your emoji down in the comments, and like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.